met each one of you individually. If not, I apologize, and hopefully I will get to speak with all of you. But we are so excited to have all of you here today. It is our pleasure to be able to open our school to you and any committees that come our way. And Red, we're very proud of Red. This is Miss Alicia Baird, a.k.a. Red.
Coach Red.
Coach Red, that's right. But I said nobody knows who Alicia Baird is, but everybody knows who Red is. And I'm very excited about all that she's doing here in Truthman County. Just to give you a little bit of background, this is the school for Truthman County. This is the only school that we have. We had 3 schools up until about 7 years ago. And this facility was built, and I came in the second year that we were under this roof. And we have pre-K all the way to 12. We have 1,140 students. And on that side, we have all of our pre-K and elementary up through 5th grade. And then on this side of the building, we have middle school wing, and then we have high school. We have about 600 kids over on the elementary side, about 200 in middle, and about 400 in high school. So it's balanced, about 600 on either side. Down the corridor, we have our main office, then we have our media center, we have our elementary gym that you can only access from the other side, and then we have our one cafeteria that feeds all of our children. Hindsight, we need a little bit more room, but we managed, and we have to schedule. We work very well together here, and the first couple of years we had some growing pains because we were all sharing one facility. But anyway, we're glad to be here, glad to have you here. I am going to, anything you want to say, Red?
Restrooms.
Restrooms, thank you. If you go back out to the right and you'll go down to this next hallway, that's the 600 hall. If you take a left, and then on the left you will see the lounge. It's kind of indented and you go in. If you're in a big hurry, there's a student restroom right here. If you go to the left and right around, it's on your left. But there's a restroom, a lounge on every hallway. I am going to turn it over, I guess, to Representative Carter. And I am going to step out. We have walkthroughs today for all of our math staff. So I will be on the campus if you need anything. Y'all can just let me know, let Red know, text me, and we're at your beck and call. We'll be right back over. Okay? So if you need anything, you can ask anyone, and they'll head you in the right direction. Any questions for me before I step out? Well, again, thank you for being here, and hope you have a wonderful meeting, and I'll touch base with you later. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I think we'll do yours first, right? Would you want to start a meeting? Okay.
We're going to get to see the gardens in there.
Yeah, I was gonna give you this is a presentation I did at the GSNA conference. I'm gonna go through it really fast. I'm gonna touch on something awesome going on our high school, middle school side, which our FFA takes care of. And I got some other students that wanted to be seen today. They're our NAT group. And then I'm gonna turn it over to y'all, and I'm gonna work in my office, unless you need me. So, granted, this was given at GSNA conference. There's some cool photos that I just wanted y'all to see. We're a small district, very small. I am schoolNutrition. I have Peggy that makes me look good. The problem with farm school is money. We're a very small county. We don't have a McDonald's bringing in money. We don't have a Walmart bringing in money. We have very limited funds here. So to start school gardening, I had to get grants. There wasn't local money to spend. I learned how to get a lot of grants, and I've learned how to get free stuff out of a lot of people. That is one of the first gardens we ever did. That was a 4-H intern that came to show me what to do, because I don't know anything about gardening. I learned, but I didn't even know what to do. And the first compost we ever used, the Farm Bureau bought for us. They've been very generous to us, and they're the ones hosting our Ag Day next Friday. This was a full-frame hoop house that the RC&D Council donated. It helps that my father-in-law was the president of the RC&D Council for this area. So they donated that full-frame hoop house, and they came and put it together, and the students put it together. Then I told them, this is your hoop house. It is not mine. It is not anybody else's. It's yours. You do with it what you want, and you're going to see what they've done with it when we get out there. That's just pictures of them putting it up. That's the finished product. It's way more finished now. Who's going to maintain it? We have a lot of school gardens, and I don't have time to maintain it, but the kids love it. our first tomatoes that came up last year. They went out there, they were picking it. I don't put any pesticide on it, they eat them off the vine. They love them. And we use them in our school salads. And we use them in our summer feeding. And they know that if it's not real polished up, it's the one that came from the garden. They'll eat those before they'll eat the polished up ones from the produce vendor. Different pictures. That's the kale. We use kales in our smoothies we make every week. And if the student doesn't see green flakes in there, they ask me, where's the kale? They want it in there, which is great. That is my gifted middle school students and theirs. They do compost and let it go down and throw it back in the bed. That's one of their they're gifted, but they have a name. That's their project. That is my FFA students planting pumpkins for the kindergarten. That was my lunch one day, I'm not gonna lie. That's why there's no meat or cheese or anything on it. All that came out of the garden but the lettuce. That bell pepper came out, the tomatoes and the squash. And I just thought it was pretty simple picture. That is students harvesting kale to go to the lunchroom for the smoothies. That's a smoothie. I'm not sure what flavor, I'm gonna say pineapple and kale were in it that day. Jalapenos, we still got those growing. We make jalapeno hummus that the kids really like. That is some more compost going on with some of the FFA boys. That is some turnip greens I went and got and we cleaned. The lunch ladies love them very much. Because I also got turnip roots and we had to clean all this stuff. That was something that the home ec made using kale from the garden. They made a vegetable lasagna. And these are some of the vendors. Herndon Farms. I went there and picked up, that's what the lunch ladies are cleaning. You see my University of Georgia sticker, good dogs. And I love that picture. I don't think the little boy ever seen a turnip, but he was just so enthralled with it. We had some peas that he grew. He was a junior that year. And he brought them up here. We opened the kale plant up and we put them on. But the student, he grew them, and he also grew watermelons for my summer program. He brought them up here. I sent them to Peggy. Peggy wrote him a check, and it was very cheap for us, but $20 is a lot to a 16-year-old, I guess. That was a Georgia Grown lunch we had, and I put that up there. That's the muscadines from the farm that we'll go to if we have time to go. But that's a picture of that, and that's broccoli grown in Strickland County we use one day. That's strawberries from Wrightsville that they delivered. And that's my son. With samples products. But that's not it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to walk over here and see this hoop house. And then it's a little ways over. We'll walk over there and see the fourth graders. And then I'll come back here. And if you've got any questions, I'll answer them.
Tell me how big a challenge it was to put this together.
One of the hardest things I've done. Very hard.
Okay.
But I hope everything on there that I was told was Georgia Grown is Georgia Grown.
Well,
I know because I picked it up
it doesn't
myself.
matter. I just cost-wise. Very expensive.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought when we first did this, that we got money to do it. And I was like, yeah, we can. I thought,
So how much more per meal do you think it costs?
Some of it is stuff we serve. We've done, it may be a little more, but we've done, let our students do samples of it. And the majority of the student body wants something and they want them to eat.
Right.
And, but, yeah, your participation goes, yeah, if you're serving one of John Sample's products, they're gonna eat.
John, you're the man.
That's the second time.
Good stuff.
That's the second time she's come out with that.
And, some of it was donated. Generation Farms, which Bill Gates owns, it's in Lyons. One of my college buddies is their marketing director, so I'm going to pick up that fruit stuff next week. Yeah, got Snoopy.
You do any business with John McAfee?
Oh, the sausage. No, I hadn't thought about that. That's good stuff.
Who's David's running making coffee?
Really?
Or both Aggies?
Really? That's Good idea. So, this is fun, and we'll continue to do this. The students will enjoy it, but it's been a lot of work. But some of it has to do.
It's a good highlight. One of my favorite comments is when you go in and you're there visiting, and I'll have teachers come up to me and they go, "Oh, I wish they would cook like this all the time." And you do.
I mean, we have whole range of yeast rolls. They're probably a lot luckier that
And
way,
it's
I don't
just,
know.
it's that, and y'all all heard me say, it's that putting a label on it. And then once you put that label on it, and it clicks, and a lot of times, one of the highest participation increases during Feed My School, and the build that will remain is teachers. And a lot of times, and your adult males, that's a lot of times the
But, I mean,
biggest.
it will be an excellent week. I'm excited about it.
Well, let me ask you this, I mean, you got it all crammed into 1 week, but the rest of the year,
Well, now
would
that
you be
makes
able to
it,
pick and choose certain items to use on an ongoing basis or sometime basis in there, or you just not gonna?
well, the hot dog is new. I don't know how they're gonna like that.
Uh-huh.
A lot of this, I mean, the turkey and dressing, we do that anyways. Rosemary chicken, we do that anyways. Hamburger steak, we do that anyways.
I mean, will you source them from the same, or not?
Yes.
I mean, you could.
Yeah, I've never been to Blaine Farms, and I went to Blaine Farms last week to get the sweet potatoes we're having today. And so, I mean, yeah, I can get them through my produce vendor, but can they 100% guarantee me it's from Blaine Farms till I get there and see the box? No. So I went there, and I made a new relationship.
Yeah.
And they were nice people, I met some interesting
I mean, a lot of it's seasonal, but it's a lot more work on you to try to specify and try to go out and find those vendors and bring it in.
It is. And so, I mean, some of this is, we've got squash casserole. We had squash come up this summer and come up and come up. And I had an intern through a program we have through Hard Georgia Reset that they paid him to come work here. And so he picked that garden and he watered it every day, and we sliced that squash. Well, I took squash to the canner plant and we blanched it and we froze it, and they're making squash casserole out of the squash that we kept on getting. So that was free.
Otherwise, if you wanted squash casserole, you buy canned squash.
Yeah, frozen and that.
Frozen, which you don't know where it came from.
We're going to now doing that too, though. And we're rolling out, we'll actually put local, if you tell them, and I'm not right, they'll,
They don't have a flash freezer yet, but I know that, I've talked to them on several occasions about that. But like, Bartow County, they got 600 pounds of J. Moore squash this summer, and it was their central office staff that went in, and they sliced it and blanched it and froze it, and the pictures are hilarious on their Facebook. But more and more systems. Lawrence County, I didn't see any pictures from this summer, but last summer, I mean, they blanched a freezer full of local items. When I was a director, talking about collard greens, we had 3 acres of collards that the FFA had grown, and I thought I had ladies that were going to beat me with collards. And we had, it was a really wet year, we had strawberries, and I have had several systems that will get strawberries, they'll wash them, hull them, and they do their own IQF there in their school system. And then you use them later in the school.
But normally school systems don't have the staff to be able to do those type of things.
Right, and sometimes a lot of it is like what Lawrence County did, they used their staff that was there for summer feeding. And I know.
But you still gotta pay them overtime.
Right. So,
It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
With DOD and their cut room, and that's where we'll be on the 16th at the meeting in Atlanta, and you'll get to see their facility there where they do process. And it's not just Georgia that they process, but they do that as well. But through the DOD, I had sent Katie an email. She wasn't able to be here today, just talking about some of our DOD, our Georgia numbers. Just an estimate of, because I'm going to go over with y'all some things that we've got for the 2020.
I already talked to Soccer, he's telling you one thing.
All right.
Yeah. I'll get you some candy. Y'all good with me? Let me go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. It's good to see all these familiar faces. We appreciate your interest still, of course, and we've had two great meetings. The first one being a lot more discussion and overview of what most of you deal with as nutrition, or members of the nutrition team within your systems. And then the second meeting was a tour of several of my local producers, I should say, actually, and what they deal with all kinds of financial strains from third-party auditors on. So it was a great meeting, and my parents not here for us to thank her again, but she did all of that. Stephanie did. So kudos to her. But today we're going to kind of do all three, or do some of the same stuff. But I'm going to turn over the meeting to Misty. She wanted to cover some things with us, and then we'll go from there. And if y'all want to just talk, it's going to be kind of a open meeting. We can just talk about whatever y'all want to. If y'all want to talk even more about next week and what you're dealing with at your system, within your system, that would be great too. So, Misty, when you're ready.
With the 2020 reporting, we went to the quarterly system, and I had given y'all a copy of the report, of the reporting tool. And September, so we're going July, August, September. That was our first quarter to report. And it was sent out to the directors in September with a due date of October 15th, but a reminder wasn't sent out. And we had 10 school systems that actually reported. And I got the information on Friday. I'm sorry I don't have this to hand out to y'all, but I was going through it and I could only get 9 of them to open that they said. We had some trouble, and my email kept shutting it down, wouldn't allow it to come in. So she sent them to me individually, and one I could not open. But going through, we had Burke, Banks County, Polk, Butts, Dougherty, Fulton County, Walton County, Jenkins County, and Screven County. And the 10th one I couldn't open up at all. So I'm not even sure what county it was. And we're at that 20% with these that are reporting. We're at that. But I had asked Laura if she would send out a reminder for that first quarter reporting so we could get some numbers. And one of the frustrations that we're hearing is that, where do these numbers go? And that is a very, relative point, because we need the numbers to kind of know where to go with them. And y'all as director, y'all can know that, the challenges of getting that superintendent support or that principal support, and, not have a pizza party and not even bring a class down to the lunchroom, that still goes on in systems. And CCRPI scores came out on Thursday, and this is something we've talked about for a while that I thought would be interesting, and I got to looking at them on Thursday. So I was at, there's 3 school systems in my county, so I was like, okay, where are we seated in this? And, I was at Madison County, where are they in this? And I got to looking at the school climate, that report in there. And I was wondering, and honestly, Red and I were talking one day last week, and I said, tell me your opinion on this. And she said, if 2020 reporting could be just a point or 2 on CCRPI, she said she would not believe the buy-in from school leadership that she would get and the support. And
I agree with that.
And I just feel like, you imagine that some of these schools, 1 or 2 points is a difference between an A, B, or C.
It's a deal breaker, like percentages of points sometimes are deal breakers for us. And
Right.
so,
Could you imagine, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, the first year that CCRPI came out was the test year, and that was my first year as a director. So I've read the reports, I've seen the reports, but I haven't been administrative in a school system for almost 5 years now. And I know that some of that, it has changed, and maybe some of the titles in the reports have changed. But would school climate be the correct place for that to be?
What if it was tied to, though, like even breakfast participation and things like that? I mean, I think I'd like to see it be even broader than just, I mean, 2020 being part of it is certainly a valid point, but I think it has to be even broader than that, about school nutrition just being part of that process in general, you know? Because we try to push breakfast promotion and things like that as readiness for school. So is that part of what they're evaluated on? I mean, because that would take a totally different twist in buying and supporting school breakfast and farm to school and all these initiatives that we do in school nutrition.
And I mean, kind of I know kind of the capstone, and because you're trying to get these numbers and we're trying to grow these numbers, you know, and I'm starting to get questions asked of me of, you know, what is the economic impact of this? And like Fulton County, and I'll compile this and send this out to you all. Fulton County, they were reporting out of 44 days of serving, July, August, September, $449,589.20 worth of Georgia product. Now that's not just straight out of the ground product. That's John Sample's product and, you know, USDA chicken fajita meat and, you know, and it's those value-added products as well. And then, you know, Polk County, and we asked for an estimate because none of y'all have the time to sit down and add up every single, so an estimate is where we are. Maybe we will get to the point where we are looking for exact, but I think an estimate is an amazing place to start. They were at 90,000. Banks County actually didn't put in an estimate. But most of these, for breakfast or lunch, they were at basically 100%. There was at least one Georgia item offered during their days of serving. A lot of times that is the milk, and I told you about how the milk, you know, we got the letters from our different purchasing groups saying, no, you know, our milk actually comes from Alabama, so we can't do that. Or no, our milk comes from North Carolina, so no, we won't be able to report milk. But these are the people like Red who they've gone out and they've made these connections with local farmers. They're purchasing, they're doing micro purchase, or they're looking at their bid. I was up visiting with Donna seems like years ago now, but it was just a few weeks ago, and she had shown me that U.S. Foods, they have the little, and unbeknownst to us, they have the little Georgia bone leaves on their Georgia products. And Cisco, they started doing 2 years ago, they started doing a Georgia list with their produce. And so it's rolling, and now we've got to figure out how to, and putting the label on it of 2020, and that it does encompass, you know, so many different of our agencies that are statewide, I think is important. You know, talking with Felita about things we can do with the early childhood and the senior feeding. We're getting ready to work on a grant that will not only work with school nutrition, but it will also reach out to the CACFP programs. And I think that's, you know, that connection was made, you know, through here. But I think one of the big things is how can we, golden radish is great. It's, the publicity of it is wonderful. It really is a good, you know, attaboy, you know, kind of on the forefront of, you know, what you're doing in farm to school. But I think when we get down to the bones and the numbers of it, that's a little bit more of the 2020 is, you know, how is this not just look at what we're doing. We're trying to do an
Well,
economic.
it's more of a support farming Georgia farmers in general, not support Georgia farmers financially hardcore down to what are we purchasing. That's very different than golden radish. Golden radish is, I don't mean this with any disrespect, but it's the fluff of it. What all are you doing in classrooms and gardens, which does support Georgia farmers, don't get me wrong. But what what Commissioner is saying with 2020 is how are we directly impacting Georgia agriculture directly with bottom line? And I think that's where 2020 vision comes in very differently than what we already rolled out at.
So, I mean, it's just so much more of this is where our dollars are going. And DOD, and we've talked about this before, and hopefully if I hear it from Katie, I'll get that out to you. In the video that we showed, and that it was our new Georgie video, you know, they delivered about 700,000 pounds of Georgia produce monthly to school systems, and I believe it's 1,500 schools that they deliver to. And, you know, their impact, they may not, and Katie has done really good about, you know, I had a Satsuma grower that just emailed me 2 weeks ago, and they have a kind of a bumper crop coming in, and I know they've already made contact with them to purchase. We have 40, I just learned this at Expo, we have 40,000 Satsuma trees in the ground in Georgia. Now, it might be 3 to 5 years before we're getting huge crops in, but, I mean, it's coming. And this year, have y'all heard the numbers of our blueberry impact? Because it was pretty harsh. And my little favorite thing ever, the Little Gate report came out, and I've got some waiting on the desk for me in Atlanta, but I haven't seen it yet, that gives, you know, all of the impact, the economic numbers and dollars, you know, and it's county by county. And I haven't got my hands on that one yet. Have y'all seen it yet? The little one? It's that Little Gate report. I love that thing. So, but where would we even start with getting this recognized or part of CCRPI? Where should we go with that?
Didn't they just redo that? Just in the last month.
Yes.
Mhm.
In fact, we were still talking about it before,
Well, and just talking and hearing other directors, you know, there's a lot of initiatives, and we're about initiative out, and you're losing, I like a study done to show how many school nutrition directors you're losing. A lot of people, that it's just so much, you all have no idea. You know, come walk with us a day. I've done a lot of different things. This is the most intensely regulated, and then all the initiatives are falling in on top. I would like a list of all the initiatives. Everybody that's asking school nutrition to do something. And guys, if we could make the golden radish and the 2020 vision the same, hey, that's going to help the school nutrition directors. We have too much on our plates. And I'm not just saying Linda Hall, I'm saying everybody. And they're counting the days. The really seasoned grade. Now, when you lose your grade school nutrition directors by adding more, you're going to lose the financial foundation for this program. When you lose that, it's going to impact the general fund. So it's a big picture. My little system is $4 million that the school nutrition program funds and spends every year. That's that much that the general fund does not have to. So we need to kind of think about, all of this sounds wonderful, and it is the thing to do, but how can we make it doable to the people who are having to do it? And then what is the financial cost? Yes, it's great, and I'm all for it, and I spoke up in a meeting the other day. I'm all about supporting farmers, and I'm all for that. But I'm also on the other side. Here's our reimbursement. Here's what the farmer's got to have. How much more did it cost her to do this? Now, she has a lot in place, but we're not addressing that. There's a financial cost to school nutrition directors for all of this extra stuff they're doing. Some people are even hiring extra people just to take care of some of these initiatives. So we need to keep that in mind. Yes, it would help get schools on board with 2020 vision, but what's it going to do to the school nutrition director who doesn't have the money or the people trained to do this? So it's the thing to do.
I think one of the good things about 2020 is that it's not just from the ground agriculture focus. You know, we are the largest poultry producing state, you know, and so we're trying to look at those value added products And, we've identified, and things that fit under the SNAP, the whole grain rice Krispy treat. Well, that rice wasn't grown here in Georgia, but they produce those for the whole United States in Georgia. So we count that product. I'm gonna call it wrong, not Key, but they own Key what? Kellogg's, thank you. The breakfast, it's formulated for schools, the waffles. And again, produced here in the here in Georgia. And so those are the kind of things too that we're also recognizing. Bimbo Bakery, they're one of the largest production bakeries in this side of the Mississippi. They're in Atlanta. And how many of y'all have Bimbo Bakery bread? It's just, so we're really kind of looking at the overall impact. Feed My School is a lot of bells and whistles, and like I said, once you put the name on it, like Bridget and those great little Georgia Grown placards that she has on her serving lines, I think y'all are my biggest customer when it comes to Georgia Grown stickers. You go to visit Carrollton City, and they're on their wrapped apples with a Georgia Grown sticker. If they're Georgia apples, they're on their salads, and it's putting that label on it. And the kids, and yes, my kids, I wear my label, but my card used to have my label on it, but my kids really notice. And the kids at our synagogue, it cracks me up because I'm always, getting activity books or activity sheets or things, because a lot of it ties to some of our fall holidays, the harvest and everything. And I have little kids coming up to me, I saw that in the grocery store, and they're just real excited about it.
But see, this is not, and I get what you're saying, Linda, but I'm not counting my days.
Mhm.
I love what I do. And I know there's a lot of initiatives, but the way we look at farm to school, the way we look at supporting agriculture is not an initiative on top of anything. It's that every decision we make is seen through farm to school eyes. And I mean that with all sincerity. In procurement, if we can get it Georgia grown and we can get a chicken and we can get it we can get it locally, we're going to choose that over this other chicken. And so it's not that it's an initiative for us anyway in Elbert. It's not that it's an initiative on top of anything. It is how we look through those glasses as we make every decision, from procurement to uniforms to, everything, to curriculum, to how we're doing nutrition ed in classrooms, to, every single thing we do, we do it through farm to school eyes. So for us, it's not really an initiative on top. It's just something that we do as we make decisions day in and day out every single day.
Donna, for GEC, it's a corporate, I want you to explain what GEC is, but tell us kind of what y'all's purchasing power is through y'all's amount of systems.
It's GC is a big cooperative purchasing group. We're about 37 systems in the North Georgia area, from the metro systems northward, northeast and northwest. We came together many years ago when a director left Cobb County and found out she didn't have any purchasing power anymore. And we buy milk, eggs, large equipment, small equipment, hair dents, groceries, produce, anything that we can come together and write a bid together for, that's what we do. There are, people can be on a bid or not be on a bid. It's entirely up to the system. Because each system has to make the best decision for their system. Nobody's required to be on a bid. You want to pick and choose.
What's y'all's total purchasing power?
For groceries, it's somewhere between $37 and $44 million. And that's the bid that I'm most familiar with because I write the bid. I'm not sure what it is for produce, because we have two produce bids, one's on the east side and one's on the west side. But we have, each county sort of becomes a specialist within the bid that they hold.
Bridget, what's your overall school nutrition budget?
2.2 million, about $1 million of that.
But what's your nursing care?
3.2.
What percentage do you purchase on bid?
I purchase everything.
It's required.
Let me say that real loud and clear, especially if we're recording.
You said you get a lot of things.
Whether you're on that, whether you're on the bid, or whether you're
That's what I meant.
I'm zero on
On the
GEC.
co-op bid,
Yeah,
I'm
what
zero.
percent is on the co-op and what is not, I'm sorry?
For Floyd County, everything that I can get on the co-op bid, we do. We've had a lot of,
It's always cheaper.
oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one.
So it depends, so how broad a variety, do they cover everything you need, obviously, then, so.
The only thing I don't buy on the co-op, because we don't have one, I don't buy washers and dryers on the co-op bid. I call and get a quote on those. I don't buy office supplies, because we don't have a bid for that, but my warehouse does. We don't have temporary labor.
Does your co-op involve with Georgia? They deliberately go out and get items, Georgia items on your bid list?
When we wrote the last grocery bid, we did not have any language for any point system to award for Georgia preference.
I mean, do they get
But we
for
have-
apples and Georgia apples? Or do you have a choice on that list?
We do not, because we can't award based on local preference standard. You can do some point
That's federal.
things, and that's a federal
Okay.
thing. Now, we do work with Royal Produce, and Royal will send us a thing and say, we have apples. Let's see, LJ, these apples are from LJ, and, you know, these are Rome apples, these are from LJ, these are Yellow Delicious, and these are from LJ, these are Red Delicious, and they're from North Carolina, and they'll list where they're from, and you can order whatever apples you want to. And that's there, and they will send you a report at the end of the month that will tell you what Georgia produce you've ordered, which is awesome. And they also have profiles of the farmers that you can pull. And we're really excited about the partnership that we have with Royal, because it's a great thing. Good folks, and Nancy, they have our DOD contract. And that's, I don't know if that's, the farmer profile is part of that, or if that's just a value added.
She actually started that before they got the DOD contract. And they had just received an award this summer. They're the top DOD program in the United States.
And they also received an award from the Department of Education, program award this year.
But they don't deliver to Elbert.
Then who would
They don't come that far.
who would be your subcontractor?
Right now we're using Colleen.
But do you do DOD purchases? Okay.
I do.
And does Royal deliver to you?
And they have a regular bid too, so it's also, that's what we don't get DOD, then get on a.
Is there a member cost to be part of the co-op?
No.
No, so I wonder in South Georgia, we're so far
Well,
apart with so many, I wonder if we could do that to
no.
our Reese's.
You have, it's not just, Donna has one, but there's numerous food bids in North Georgia. You have down in South Georgia, there's a group of school nutrition directors that have come together. There's group bidding all over Georgia.
Pulaski Dodge. Is Lawrence part of that? Lawrence and Dublin, I think, Blackley. And they have I think there's 8 school systems, they have a purchasing co-op. When I was a director in Madison County, my first year I was GC, I had been the manager and had been on the GC bid. My first year as a director, we were on it. My second year as a director, I actually came off the grocery bid because I'm a food, my background's food, and I wanted a little bit more flexibility. But I bid with Banks County, so we went in together, and that helped our purchasing. But I came off of the grocery bid, but I joined several of the other bids. And that's the flexibility of, I think Donna was telling me, you know, they're getting in the process now of writing their next food grocery bid for GEC, and they're looking at adding, you know, local language to it. And so that will help with the weight of it. And
there are lots of Georgia products that are on the bid. Like we have lots of college products. We have lots of chicken products. There are lots of Georgia products that are on the bid that are approved vendors. And that was just because they're high-quality products. Not because I mean, it's just not luck of the draw, but just because they're high-quality products, and Georgia's a great place. I mean, I could stumble around for longer, but
When you say high quality, you mean high price too?
no, they were low bid.
Okay, good.
I mean, I'm all about the bidding and low
Yeah,
bid.
well,
And
that's what I
I make lots of people angry on a regular basis.
Well, it's your
Don't
job.
Nancy.
And another thing to look at too is the USDA purchasing. I was forwarded an email from the other day that there was a cancellation of, and I'm going to call it wrong, of the roasted chicken.
Oven roasted chicken.
And so I sent that to the commissioner. I said, well, read this over. So he called me. He said, okay. He said, I don't have time for a full lesson, so give me the bullet points. And so, I was just kind of telling, a lot of times with USDA purchasing, you're purchasing a year out or 18 months out. And
We ordered it February was a year ago.
Really?
February was a year ago is when we placed orders for this school year. So at this point in the school year, you're just kind of stuck.
Because your USDA is bidding.
Yeah,
Bidding with all
Yeah, okay, I get it, yeah.
and part of it, so when he and I were talking, he said, well, is there a way for USDA to reach out to us as a poultry state and to say, okay, you're having trouble getting this oven roasted chicken bid? Is there a way for us to reach out to them to say, okay, we've got, a couple of companies here in Georgia that maybe do that? And so that was something he and I were kind of talking about. He said, and I told him, that they had an email sent out that it had 3 different products that you could replace it with. One was a Florida product, one historically a Florida product, one was historically a Georgia product, and the third product, they weren't sure where it was produced. So, and they gave them and then, another whole boot of it was that their ordering system, God bless them, that you have to have, clearance. I had to get, I will never forget having to talk to somebody in Colorado to get my government clearance to go into this, program to go in and order. But that ordering system was down. So, in a very customer service friendly way, the state, they had sent out saying, okay, you send us what you want and we'll fill that order for you.
Which was great.
But yeah. Yeah. But, so I know when we talked a lot about 2020 at Directors Conference last year, and it took Frank Mullins, it took him a year, not because he wasn't doing it, it took him a year to chase down the USDA products that are Georgia products. Because we had talked about it, we were talking about state bids almost, 9 months before, and we were talking about that. So trying to find out where our USDA items are coming from. USDA purchased $89 million worth of Georgia ag products for school year 16. And that's nationwide, that's all, not just staying right here in Georgia. So, that's a huge chunk. I think our top USDA commodity that's purchased from us is actually peanuts for the USDA peanut butter.
Do we know how much they spend total?
No, I got that actually off of some numbers that Laura had sent me. I'm not sure if they're total,
What percentage Georgia gets?
yeah. So, but it's all these cogs coming in, and now I'm gonna hop back over to, we all see this, we all see the purchasing, we all see the labeling of, how do we get that buy-in? How do we get the leadership of schools? Because I think you've got amazing superintendent support in Carrollton City. I think Donna has really good support. You've got great support in Elbert County. Rich has my husband is a director, he has amazing support in his little school system.
But there's a lot of people.
But there's a lot of people who don't. There's a lot of superintendents who, as long as they're fed, it does not matter. As long as they're, but what are their test scores? And I think if we were to take these amazing initiatives and tie it to how's your school graded? We have a business that's going to be in Middle Georgia. I think their first crop will come in next October. It'll all be hoop house and greenhouse at 75 acres in that Macon area. I can't remember
Beautiful
the
acres
county.
and full path.
Yes, and I met their parents, I met those boys' parents. We were doing a breakfast for a group of dignitaries and gave them my card and, you know, sent them an email somewhere along the way because they wanted to know what our farm to school numbers were here in Georgia. And they were highly impressed with the Department of Ag's support of farm to school. And I mean, it's amazing at the people. I mean, that's not just an investment just for schools. I mean, that's going to be a huge thing once it gets. I think they've broken ground, and I can't remember. I think it is next October when they're expecting the first crop to come in. Mostly tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers.
Yeah,
So.
year round,
Mhm.
greenhouse.
One of the things I think is the elephant in the room, and I'm careful what I say here, but availability of Georgia grown products is hampered by the fact that you've got one or two companies they're the major suppliers. They service, as Donna's did, one of them does, one of them's another one that's a local one thing. If they don't carry the product, you're not gonna be able to get it to your school systems. We do 30 different school systems. We can't be a part of that bid because our company's not large enough to participate in that situation and handle 40 school systems at one time. We do 28 individual systems, which we do a great job with. And I would compare our pricing structure with the pricing structure that's on that bid any day of the week on the items that we manufacture, the items that we do. Because there's a difference when you talk about price is not the end all be all of everything when you start talking about value in the product.
At all.
If the people don't eat the stuff, you're no better off.
Yeah.
Or if you can't get it to us.
Right, if you can't do it. So one of the things I think that's really been a hindrance in this whole scenario is just like I've done several different things for Misty and them when they had the blueberry juice and stuff that they wanted us to bring in and transport and whatnot. That we did because I own the company. I don't have to call anybody and ask them what I want to do or whatever. No, I don't want to do. I just do it, you know. So, but there's not enough small business people still out working the school systems that are actually calling. I bet you, if you polled all these directors in here, you probably have less than 2% that has anybody even come see them, much less be a situation where they're not. So the end all be all is not to do a statewide scenario where you've got one company servicing everybody, because you may be able to force that issue, make them bring the product in, but you also are killing all the other people that are here in Georgia that work. We've been in downtown Atlanta since the 70s. We've been in business since 1965. So, and 70% of my business is schools. So that's, but I still see all my customers. We open at 5:30, we're there till late.
Well, and to your point, I think that gets back to, supporting local business in general, which I think is valuable personally. So, the challenge is you've got mainline distributorship that's national organizations. They look at it very differently than a local provider. It's not much different than what we're talking about with Georgia Grown, and it is a struggle, but, at the end of the day, it's my local folks that will come and bring me something
If you're out.
if I'm out.
But on the other hand, the national distributors have their benefit too. because
Absolutely.
But when you go looking, the frustrating part for these ladies and for me as a vendor is that, and I'd be glad to share with you the cost so you can see it's not like buying clothes. You're not going to get a 50% off sale on anything, believe me. You're talking 12 to 14%, maybe 18% at the top that you're going to make to warehouse it, handle it, fix it, deliver it, take care of all the stuff. It's not like you're getting rich on one item. It's the situation of being able to prepare that product, what they order, not what they expect. Because what they expect is what they want, and that's what you're supposed to deliver, but that's not happening in a lot of cases.
John, let me ask, since because John was one of my, when I was a director, when I went off the grocery bit, he was one of the vendors that we started purchasing from. Since you've been, and I know you started putting the label on your box, have you had more school systems contact you, even if it's just a one-time purchase or a special event? And that's what I tell a lot of our Georgia Grown members. Carol's Sausage came to the Source Show last year, And the guy that does their marketing, he said, he said, I had a grocery vendor in South Georgia just tell me this was a waste of my time, and, my salt, this is too salty and it costs too much. And I looked at him and I said, no, they're not going to be able to serve this 5 days a week. I said, but if I can get 50 school systems to buy $1,000 worth of product from you, he said, that's amazing business. And so a lot of times, a lot of what we are doing is a special event for the big commissioners coming, Georgie's there, and you've got all the, the bells and whistles going on. And a lot of times that's when you are doing this special event purchasing. But the 2020, the whole idea of it is that long-term relationship. Finding out from U.S. Foods what all they do warehouse that is here, and make sure that they know that it's important to these directors. They want those options. You might carry 10 chicken fingers, 3 of them might be processed here in Georgia. Label that for us. Let us know. And I think that's where we have made some inroads with 2020, is that you're getting these companies to go, okay, they're starting to ask, so we need to get on this.
When we started doing the 2020 reporting, and we were not good about reporting on time, because there are a tremendous amount of things that we're doing.
We went from monthly to quarterly, so this is the first. This is the first year that it's quarterly.
I'll be honest, the first time I opened the report, I said, there's no way I can do that, but this time I can do it.
Yeah, it's just a one-page fillable.
And we didn't get our monthly stuff in until July. We're in for like 7 months in July. But we did get it in. We went back and looked up all the stuff. We had lots of Georgia products, and we were able to get it in. So now when, I'm starting to attend the young farmers meetings in our county. My daughter's soccer coach is the Farm Bureau guy in town. And when they're talking to me and they're saying things, I'm over and say, oh, well, we had this much dollars and this many pounds and blah, blah, blah. It lends a level of credibility that I didn't know we had. It's not that we didn't have it, we had it, but I didn't know we had it.
You're buying it.
And that's a big thing. Often I think that we're so busy that we isolate ourselves. And sometimes we need to step out of that.
People get frustrated because, they can't really produce enough product to handle a whole system. Well, and then too, there's a big goal of getting it from point A to point B. So I think part of it has been lost in the fact that, it's one thing to get it there. It's got to get there under the right conditions.
And Red going in her car to go pick up sweet potatoes. And in the conversation with her, she said, and I did that because my produce company couldn't guarantee me that they were going to buy sweet potatoes. I said, well, could you ask them to specifically do it? And she said, no, and the way her bid is written, she had to get whatever they bought based on their pricing.
Well, because they've asked for the cheapest price.
Well,
And not only the cheapest price, but they got, you limited, you tied their hands and said, you gotta sell it to me for nothing. And then you said, would you do these exceptionally great things for me? I would love to, but unfortunately, my kids like to eat, so I have to have food to take home, so, I'm not saying that to be mean. I think it's a great initiative. I think it's time to look back at small business folks in Georgia and support our Georgia people. It's been a long time coming, and it needed to happen a long time ago. But some of the regulations hinder them being able to purchase, even if they really truly want to. And honest to God, I think we sat down last week in our last meeting at your plant down there for the pork sausage. I guarantee you, people have never evaluated that man's sausage side by side with what they're buying to see what kind of yield he's getting and what kind of product he's producing. Because, we sell a whole lot of country sausage like that particular product that is, you can use 1.5 ounce product. You don't have to buy 2 ounces because of the yield of it. It's a 70% lean product. Well, that picks you up from 48 servings in a 6-pound box to 66. You see what I'm saying? It's a better quality product that yields better, and it's better flavor and better profile, and it's going to sell more product. So is it truly cheaper? Yes, a lot, if they just get a
If they
chance
evaluate,
to
yeah.
the side-by-side test and stuff. And the director, and the
Yes.
director has the ability to say.
Not with the cafeteria manager.
Don't do a student
Have you
test.
ever come to our students?
And a lot of this is not Department of Ed.
It needs
It's
to be back in.
USDA regulations on our procurement guidelines is, y'all have no idea. And so.
It can be fixed. It just needs to let the ladies do their job.
Look around, not to break our bread.
So can't negotiate anything with the.
That's because of all the fraud that's gone on in purchasing. Just look at some of what's
We'll go sit on one side of the table.
bids awarded work to people, local people.
And I think one of the, when we started the source show, that's when I wanted the directors to be able to just have that one-on-one time with the producers and to actually, it's kind of quiet, and I think y'all all been. Bridget, did you come to the source show this last year? You know, just a chance for them to kind of come in and see, and kind of have a little bit more one-on-one. I think John, he's been at all, this will be our fourth one. And it will be March the 1st, we'll be getting the same today. The state youth livestock show it's on the last Thursday in February, so we're going to move it to the first Thursday in March. But I think that gave a lot of directors a chance just to kind of come in and, Thompson Farms, they've been there, and, John's been there, and, we've had pickle people, and last year we had garden tower people, and these are all people that are Georgia Grown members, or they've done profiles, and to, on a double-edged sword, we actually had several of our vendors join Georgia Grown because they were like, we had no idea that there were this many people that would buy from us.
That's our main problem in Elbert, is we have tons of chicken, we have tons of soybean,
Lots of granite.
we're not going there, but we have lots of granite. But just very few road crops, anything. And so it's a struggle for us, and because we're on the Georgia-South Carolina border, see, most distributors are state by state. And when you get to that edge right there, and we're 2 hours, 2+ hours from Atlanta, nobody wants to deliver, because that means it's a trip to us that is not going anywhere else, And so for us, that's the hardest part. It's the hardest part of this whole deal for us, is to get products. But it's like John was saying though, I say this to farmers all the time. I have 3,000 kids. I feed 2,500 of them every day for lunch. I don't necessarily have to have 2,500 servings, but if you can get me 1,500, I'm gonna serve those 1,500s and I'm gonna supplement with something else. I'll buy what you have, whatever it is, I'll buy it. Even if it can't meet all of my needs, I'll supplement without, with something not Georgia grown in order to be able to do that. But just to be able to get product,
Has micro purchase helped y'all
Yes.
with farm to school?
Yes.
Okay. And that's what a lot of I had the very first source show, I had one school system, well, two school systems went in together. And they bought $5,000 worth of this lady's product. And she had it in gallon jugs. And that's where, not only, in working with y'all, I'm working with producers. And instead of getting them to produce it, in a little home glass bottle, that we need half-gallon plastic or gallon plastic, or, you need a 2-pound bag of a dry rub rather than just a little bottle of dry rub. And so we've gotten, Regenerate is the ideal example. The blueberry juice, they went from an 8-ounce glass bottle to a 4-ounce carton that's freezable. And now the Satsuma juicers, they were at the source show last year, so we made that connection between the blueberries and the Satsumas, and because they were doing a 12-ounce plastic bottle, and I was talking to Lydia, I can't think of Lydia's last name, she's the head of the Satsuma Growers Association, and she said they're already looking into their 4-ounce paper cartons. They want to just, go straight to that because they know that the schools will be good customers for it. So we're making the connections, we're connecting the dots, but now we need that leadership buy-in. The superintendent in Valdosta, or Lowndes County.
Up for top, he's in the top 5, oh, top 3 now. For Georgia Superintendent of the Year, that's true.
Would,
He's the greatest in my opinion on earth.
would, in your opinion, if this were to be tied to this, how much more of a impact do you think it would
Well,
have?
my school, I just pulled it up, I didn't realize CCRPI came out Thursday. I don't guess Leanne mentioned it, but we're at 79.1.
The state average is 75.
But if we could have gotten maybe even a point, we would have been at 80, just like you said, it'd take you up
A
a
partial point and
a
make
letter
it
grade, yeah.
Mhm.
So, I think it would be great, but my principal and our academic coach, or, what do we call Treva?
Instructional coach, right?
She came, the two of them came up last year and met with, I coordinated a meeting in our office, to meet with the CCRPI folks at DOE. And Rodney came up for that too. And, they kind of laid some stuff out. This wasn't one of the things that they laid out, but they really listened to them. I think DOE is open to hear,
Just talk to them.
yeah,
I mean, I don't have anything to do with that.
but
They're good.
now's the time because they are either close or have already finalized. I don't know where they are, but they're revamping. It's just a matter of how far along are they closed now? I don't know.
I think they've
You're
taken,
close.
Yeah.
I think they've taken out, because like, I don't know, our system got like a big bump in points because we were a CEP system, like 10 points or something crazy, which they were super excited about. I mean, like, I was the woman of the hour because we'd gone to CEP. I think they've taken that out. So, I mean, it would be a good time to have this kind of discussions if we were looking at something like
Who's
that.
the contact there? I can make that contact.
At DOE?
Yeah, I'll walk up there. I mean,
Gary was the
Collaborate all
one
the
who
time.
coordinated
Gary, you have any?
for me. Well, he coordinated for me.
I will.
But if this was, if this would be something that would increase participation, that would be a win all around.
Well, I think that's what it gets back to, y'all. I mean, you talk about costs. I mean, I hate to say it, but it gets back to participation. So there's a lot of things you can do. I serve the highest quality food I can serve, and I drive my participation. Georgia Grown is part of that piece, absolutely. Tying into academics, and, and I appreciate the reps, but I'll be honest, I worked really hard to have those conversations with my superintendent about the value of school meals in general when it comes to academic success. So I think, big picture, Georgia Grown is absolutely a piece of that. School meals is the piece that I think we miss with superintendents in districts. In some places, and I've worked hard to, again, educate my superintendent, we're a necessary evil. We have to feed the kids, is kind of their take. So, but to me, I talk about good quality food relating to good academic and athletic and all, that success, that tie-in is a critical piece, which certainly serving a lot of locally grown food is a higher quality food, I think until we get our educators totally understanding the value of what we serve in general, which I'm kind of a research geek, I'll be honest, and so some of the recent studies that have come out that talk about quality school meals and how that relates to academic success, I mean, I'd love to see all of that with Georgia Grown being a subset part of, the CCRPI stuff, because then we'll be valid. Like, we're kind of seeing, it's hard to explain, but you've got the academic piece of school, and then you've got school nutrition, that it's an ancillary thing, and and so that's why I talk about breakfast and stuff. There is some research from FRAC that talks about how schools or kids that eat school breakfast do better on standardized tests and how they have better attendance, and so that's all part of it. Again, Georgia Grown being part of that as well. I think it's a cultural thing, and I know going through Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act and some of the negative PR around that, and I had conversations about farm to school, that did always bring it back in a positive way. So I think that was really beneficial. But don't know, I guess I just would like to see more understanding of the fact that school nutrition is really part of the educational process.
We're doing one of my intern and the research team at Children's is doing a one-pager about it that I'll share.
That would be great.
I gotta get on my pet peeve. My wife was a school teacher for 26 years. Every time they had a standardized test go in, it was very important for everybody to have.
Great breakfast.
Oh, gosh,
We have great
you've
breakfast.
got to have milk on the table when they get there. You need a banana there when they get there. You give them cookies when they need cookies. If they're hungry, a Snickers bar.
It's not every day.
And I
We learn every
oh,
day,
she
but
just-
we don't understand that that's important every single day.
Well, that goes back
Oh.
And it's
to,
more important in the months
Putting a
leading
label
up
on
to the
it.
test
Oh,
than it is on the day of the test.
yeah.
She would not even tell me that was happening because she knew I'd get on my soapbox and go rant and rave. If it's important for one day, it's important for every day.
I know. When,
My superintendent, I mean, we have great superintendent, and I think he told you this story when you guys were in Elberton, but when Irma came through, and we had no power, and we were very lucky, the schools never lost power, but many people in our community without power, and we were out Monday and Tuesday of that week, and on Tuesday afternoon, we use a Slack. It's an app that we all, as principals, administrators, all communicate with. It's kind of like instant messaging. And I'm very rarely a part of that conversation. I'm included, but very rarely a part of it. And so there was conversation about what are we doing tomorrow, and he said, we're going to go to school. And one of the principals said, well, we've got many of our faculty that still do not have power. We've got many of our students that still do not have power. He said, we're going to school tomorrow because these kids need a breakfast and a lunch. They've been at home without any electricity, without any food. They've lost every bit. And we're coming to school tomorrow. You tell your teachers, put their hair in a ponytail. I can show you. Put their hair in a ponytail and rinse off whatever they need to do. But we're coming to school tomorrow because our kids need to be fed. And so I'm very lucky to be in a system who includes us as part of a vital part of what we're doing. And so we're very lucky for that.
You see the importance of, you see the, when I was a manager, I did the same, and my kids weren't old enough to take standardized tests when I was a manager. And I'd be like, why are we just concerned about a snack before a test today? If they don't know it now, my husband's a soccer coach, and he's a silent man, and he coaches like this. And he's like, I'm not yelling at them during a game, because if they don't know it by game time, they're not going to know it. And that's kind of the way I feel about standardized tests. If they don't know it by standardized test time, and if you haven't fueled it, and I think all of that, and I know y'all are, it's my cheerleader in me. It all goes back to putting that label on it, and I have visited, I don't know how many schools, and leadership comes up to me, and teachers come up to me and go, oh, I wish they would cook like this every day. And if I have wonders, I have a tip of my tongue left for not saying they do. They do cook like this every day. All we've done is
Harvest of the Month Day is highest participation day, no questions asked on our meeting every single month, and I'm going, we do this every single day. We just make a big deal about it on Monday.
You put a label on it, and that's why I feel like in 2020, and we've been, and I know the commissioner, he's made this joke because in that article, he really called me at 7 o'clock in the morning and asked me what year it was. I promise. I was like, what? And that's where when it hit him, and it's that putting the label on it, putting that, and I think that label drives that participation, and you're just putting a bow on a present. And so, golden radish, yay! And it's, like you said, it's a lot of the fluff part of it, but the meat and the bones of it, the, absolute, all 5 components, not just the fruit and the vegetable, or just the bread, or, it's all, we're concentrating on that whole plate.
And Misty, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he, when he first thought of this, didn't he want to also include other things in 2020, like the manufacturer for the tray lines in Georgia?
it's always.
Okay, that's what we heard that somewhere we were told.
That was the past GSNA, Jennifer, was that her name? That was the chair.
Okay.
Yes, because I had a conversation with her as I was barreling down 85 one day. But no, that's
So,
great.
We're talking about food.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Not
you know,
trays.
our value added and our ag produced products, you know, in the state. But now
But agribusiness, not
Agribusiness.
just necessarily grown,
those value added
but
products.
processed.
The
or
salad
produced
dressing,
or
the, you know, I
the
mean,
Kellogg's, the.
Dickie's peaches, how many different products are made from y'all's peaches?
Well, actually, processing in is very limited in Georgia.
What about your?
It's all fresh, most of it's all fresh.
Mhm.
Very little other products.
Did-
Most of that is in California with canned and frozen.
Now, any of y'all's pecans processed into anything here in Georgia?
Some.
And, you know, we have some growers, Vidalia onions are a great example. You know, they do a lot of processing, they'll chop and freeze a lot of their number twos, but aren't that really pretty one to serve, you know, to sell at the grocery store. You know, we're having more and more beef that's produced where they have their own label. It is a little pricier, but if you buy $1,000 worth of them, you know, 1 or 2 times a year, I think that's great business. And you're supporting that local. Maybe you do need to do the USDA one with the cherries in it, you know, most of the year, but, you know, buy something local when you can. But I guess that whole CCRPI, I think that would be a capstone, because I know the directors are starting to say, okay, we're doing this work, tell us where it's going. And to get some meat to say, okay, this is where it's going, that is the key.
If I may speak, I think that will get leadership that you're talking about on the education side, if we want to say that. But my worry is, if we really want 2020 vision to go, and I think it's phenomenal, why can't we focus on that instead of all of these other things that are kind of like that? School nutrition directors have so much on their plate. So if we have all these initiatives, again, what is common about them all? And let's come out, if it's all 2020, let's focus on 2020 and do it well and do it across the state instead of it being U.S. Healthier Challenge, all these wonderful things, they're great, but you can only do so many things and do them well. You know, some systems can do more.
Well, when not everybody's doing all.
That's my point, I just choose not to. I'm not a-
Yeah, I was gonna say, you have to make those decisions.
I'm not, this was the first year I did.
None of it's
But wants to
metrics.
keep them.
None of it is.
So you're focusing that they will, forcing the issue that they will do 2020, and the others are optional, is what I'm hearing.
Well,
How many
And
other
that's-
options you got? What other programs you keep up?
Well, like there's the U.S. Healthy
U.S. Healthier School Challenge.
School Challenge, but
Alliance.
that's
It's
an
a
option.
different.
Those are options.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
measuring something totally different.
And that also has a wellness component, and, you
I
know,
say 2020 is a bit for less, and that's how
several of the 10 systems that we got the reports from, several of these, they didn't participate in Golden Radish. Golden Radish, I mean, on a
Very
very,
Beasley Walker is a great example.
Yeah,
She's doing phenomenal things with
you know,
private school, phenomenal,
and
but she, I'm not doing that.
I'm the-
Golden Radish,
I'm
but it's
the-
your choice.
I'm the only
Beasley
evaluator. I'm the only evaluator on the Golden Radish team that has been a school nutrition director. And there are lots of times where I just sit there, they wanted to put a thing in to tell you what you could sample, because there's eye rolls when they sample nachos and pizza. And I said, but you gotta look at, on that nacho bar, was it salsa made from Georgia products?
Or
And-
jalapenos.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
if you do that, I said, you're not gonna have a single school system in this state that participates. So, and Golden Radish is wonderful. It really does, it puts a big shiny star on focus, but if you have seen that application,
It's a good 3 days. 3 entire
It
days.
used to be harder.
Yeah, it used to be hard.
And this year was the first time I filled it out, because before I
And
did
I've been asking them to simplify it even more. I mean, because it's just, and I'm very protective of our small school systems because it's, you know, you and a bookkeeper and,
Well, that's what it
you know,
is for
and-
me, too.
yeah, and I mean, it's just, you know, and it's just, but it's a lot of the fluff. And you have the Healthy US, and I know that's a USDA product, and you have Turn Up the Beat, and you have One in a Melon, and you have all these different awards, which are wonderful. And you have a lot of directors who can do them all, and then you have a lot of school systems who are like, I need to feed kids. And, you know, like you were saying, Evans County is an ideal, you know, example of that. She did, she took Feed My School and took it out of the school and did an entire community event. They had more people come to their community-wide ag day than they have in the whole school system. And if it had not been on the day of the Glenville Onion Festival, we probably would have had even more people there. But, and, you know, I mean, it's just, it's how a director puts their spin on it and what they see as the biggest value to their school community and their community as a whole.
And where you get buy-in
Exactly.
from the community for doing that. So,
I
I mean,
mean-
obviously, my priority is always feeding kids,
Mhm.
period.
Yeah.
You know, so everything we do is framed around that. Now, if we get a recognition for something, it's because we just went ahead and documented what we were already doing. You know, we didn't do it for that documentation ever. But I have to say that some of that has brought us to your point of the branding with Georgia Grown and those sorts of things. It's the very same idea. You know, do you want to have a wellness initiative in your schools and that you're supported by your community that way, then you have to decide. So again, as a director, that's just part of our job. We have to prioritize, you know, but for me, it's always the kids and the meals. And there's a lot of things we drop off because like there's just no way we have time to do that. So we have to say this is critical mission.
And I think one reason why 2020 has gotten so much focus from not just Department of Ag, not just from DOE, not just from school nutrition directors, is that, you know, it is the #1 industry in this state. And we have businesses that are starting to get these phone calls from directors, or we have farmers who are meeting people and going, okay, well, I've never sold to them before, why? And I think that's why I'm kind of looking at it. I know the commissioner kind of looks at it as kind of a capstone of all the other farm to school efforts, is that this, and y'all heard him say on Monday, last Monday, that, you know, this is the opportunity for us to change the buying habits of an entire generation. You know, for them to look for that local. And it drives participation, and it drives wellness, and it, you know, it drives classroom performance, and it kind of.
And that's why, like, my goal is to change eating habits of a whole generation, ultimately. I mean, that's really the purpose, I see it, of school nutrition. You know, not only as a director, but a registered dietitian, like, that's where we can impact our state long range, when we impact obesity rates.
Absolutely, I think what we've done is, you know, when we came through school, it was fried squash. It's all squash you ate, especially in Elbert. That was the only squash we had was fried squash.
Or it was so
Now-
stewed it couldn't hold together. That's what we
Yeah,
had.
and so now it's, you know, we're roasting squash, zucchini, and onions. We're roasting it, we're serving it fresh, we're roasting it on a daily basis. It comes in fresh, we chop it, it's roasted. And so I think that's what changes eating habits more than anything, is that it doesn't have to be fried and, you know, battered and fried. That absolutely, oh my gosh, have you ever roasted broccoli? No, we've always had broccoli and cheese sauce. We're changing the perception. We're still serving the same foods, but we're changing the perception of how you eat those foods. And so, and that's one of the reasons I came from a dietitian over to school nutrition, is because it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And so when you were seeing them at the hospital level, it was too late by that point. So we came back to this level because I can make a difference here much more so than I could make in a clinical setting.
Emily, in SHAPE, how has local impacted the SHAPE grantees? Or person local? Or tying to the school nutrition?
The biggest impact is through school gardens. Like, we've had a lot of taste tests. I'd say probably 65 or 70% of the schools now have school gardens or do some kind of effort, not procurement, but based on school garden taste tests or farm school curriculum.
Taste testing is huge. You know, we had food corps service member, we're the first school district in the state of Georgia, and the reason that I did that was actually economics, because it wasn't an easy way to get someone to help support our program with nutrition ed. The impact of those taste tests is huge, and what that's done to our participation is significant, because kids are allowed to try it, and they're allowed to cook with
And
it,
have an
grow
opinion
it.
about it.
Exactly, and how that's translated to us is huge. I mean, and this is our second year, and I mean, now what's crazy is it's changed the culture of a school. So we have garden beds going up everywhere at a school that just 3-4 years ago, we were like sneaking them in, you know? And then all of a sudden, they redid it.
In the cloak of darkness.
I'm kind of one of those people that like, you know, begs for forgiveness later. And so unfortunately, I had a few teachers at that school that went and asked permission. They were told no. I didn't tell them, like, we already had some beds around the corner, like, just go use those, you know. But what's crazy is because of showing that and the tie-in into the academics and the hands-on learning that's happened, and this is 1,700 students in a pre-K through 3rd grade school. The whole STEM initiative is now garden-based. In 1 year's time, that's amazing to me. And of course, we're having conversations around that, around wellness and making good choices just in general, because our culture is such that we haven't been, you know, raised that way, and our teachers don't necessarily think that way. So it's exciting, you know, we're on that threshold, I think, of really having a great impact on children in our community in a more profound way than we've ever had. And a lot of that is because of those taste tests and that hands-on learning that we're doing, like we saw today with the garden. It's huge. Kids get more comfortable if they've had that. We do a culinary club at that school, 2nd and 3rd grade. We have a waiting list. And those kids are crazy. They'll make coleslaw, and they think it's the greatest thing they've ever had. If I put coleslaw out on the menu, they wouldn't have eaten it, you know, but they made it, and they told us, you know, no, now I like coleslaw, you know, because they actually had a part in making it and trying it themselves, and wanted the recipe to take home to mom to make, you know. That's exciting stuff. You know.
Last year, at Commerce City, it was Rich's first year, but he did Feed My School at middle school. And instead of doing a whole week of it, they spread it out throughout the year. Well, the 7th grade team, and it just so happened we had a 7th grader last year, they really kind of attached to it, and they came up with a year-long ag project, and it was voluntary. And I planned we did a Jackson County farm tour, which was hilarious, because you had 7th grade kids who had never been within 5 feet of a cow, so that was hilarious. But the 7th grade team, it made such an impact, and the kids did so well on that. They had to do a project, they had to do a presentation, they could group, it could be between 2 and 5 kids, you know, and they worked on it in the classes. And the 7th grade team enjoyed it so much that they've required that for this school year. And they've put a twist on it, like, you know, everything now is technology. You know, you can't get them off their phones, you can't get them off their tablets or this or that. So like their presentation has to be non-technology based. And that's really kind of thrown these kids for a loop, because they're actually having to write a paper, they actually have to interview a farmer or someone in the ag industry, and they've tied it to their advisement. I think of the word advisement. 5th grade's at our middle school, so they've got champs. In 6th grade, they have some little program in advisement. Well, 7th grade didn't have anything. In 8th grade, they're getting ready for high school. So 7th grade, this is now their new advisement, but it's not just once a month. It ties over into their classroom. And they'll get to do another farm tour and all this sort of stuff. But that's all tied to, like, they have one this coming Friday. And so whenever there's a Georgia Grown Day, there's a speaker from the ag industry. This week it's going to be someone from the poultry school at Georgia, Poultry Sciences. And, you know, so we've got people from all these different that's coming in and really talking to the kids, you know, this is what's coming down. and then they have a whole Georgia Brown Day in the cafeteria, but they do school-wide. They only have 4 little bitty schools, so it's school-wide for them. And that ties back to your academic and your participation and your,
You have to seek it out. You have to be as much a part of academics. I think I said this in the very first meeting, our professional learning teams that we've started in our district this year. That's that's my Teaks and Leaks goal this year, is to be a part of that PLT at least once a month in a school somewhere. Because what happens is, if I can sit in and be a part of a professional learning team where those teachers are collaborating together about what curriculum and which way they're taking the curriculum in the next 2 weeks, and we want to teach it this way, and how about this? All of a sudden I can say, but wait a minute, I can provide this for you. What if we, I think I maybe started apples and the pumpkins, but what if we, we did creative writing about the difference between an apple dip and a pumpkin dip, and what if we did tally marks about how many kids in the class like apples versus, but it's about mainstreaming into that curriculum, and all of a sudden you have a buy-in and you're no longer an ancillary department, you are now mainstreamed with how can we be supportive in that classroom and can bring in some, farm to school and good nutrition stuff in there. So that's one of the things we're working on.
And if I could add, that's why Superintendent Woods asked me to add an academic nutritionist position on staff, and that is exactly the type of things that she is doing. So I'd love to send her to you one day.
Sure.
To develop some lesson plans. People don't use lesson plans anymore. I've heard. Yes. So she's developing some of those materials to tie the cafeteria in with the academics to try to make.
That's what we do.
I don't want to say force
And that's what
the
happens. So
relationship,
we built relationships in one school, and we started farm to school in that one school, and we snuck in, and then all of a sudden, so that was 2 years ago. And what has happened is that one school, there are so many requests for, hey, can we do it this way? Can you guys come do this with us? That it's almost overwhelming, because I'm a me and a me, that as we've branched to, which is our elementary schools, we've branched over to elementary, we're not getting requests over there. And it's because they don't understand the process that we mainstream into their curriculum. It's not something on top of what they're already doing. We mainstream in and make what they're doing easier, because they don't have to buy the supplies, number one, create the supplies, do it. My team is doing that, and we're becoming a part of that. And so that's what's happening with our PLTs, is mainstreaming into curriculum.
And I didn't explain it very well. That's exactly what happened why our garden curriculum changed to STEM, because that's what we were doing last year, was we were coming in modeling a lesson on fractions. And they did sweet potato hummus as part of that. So you have Georgia grown sweet potatoes being made in a hummus. Again, they made bar graphs. They did it, I tried it, I liked it, I loved it, sort of scenario, and then analyzed the statistics around that, and did also the doubling of the recipe, where they understood, okay, they were doubling those fractions in that recipe. And so again, like Bridget said, now, so this is my 1700 school, so we have basic core lessons. Probably we did 20 last year, and now this year we've got teachers, because of this initiative change, we sent some to the Farm to School conference so they would learn how to incorporate more. So that's exciting. And last Friday we had a teacher work day, so one of the teachers came over and said, okay, these are the things I want to incorporate in 3rd grade science. How can I do that? And so our food corps service member and her sat down and developed more lessons incorporating things. And again, we pointed back to school nutrition, like we're not making things that we're not serving, but it's that hands-on process of making it in the classroom, and ideally tying it down to what they're growing in the gardens, too.
How many schools, Nancy, have this garden growing, hands-on thing in our schools? How many? Well,
But the majority of schools across the state have.
yeah, the majority I've toured in my district have it, but I'm not sure all, but I think most of our have. And they love it. It is. It is. I mean, it's.
67%.
Huh?
Well, that's with our mini grants.
Mini grants, okay.
So, I mean, that's a pretty good.
You said 70?
65 to 70% of our grantees have used their funds to create school
Use
gardens.
whose funds?
Our funds,
Public health.
SHAPE's funds,
Public
public health funds.
And a lot of schools, they have the gardens, and I know like where my kids were in elementary school, they had a teacher, boy, it was all gung ho, it was great, it was wonderful. Well, she had a baby, and no other teacher took it over.
Yeah.
And
Happens a lot.
You know, and, you know, and a lot of time, and not that that was a bad thing, but I mean, and they had gotten a grant from the governor's office, and it was amazing. I had a live chicken walking around on my Oriental rug one time, because they did, you know, raise a live chicken at home, and it was really cold, and that chicken came inside, and it was walking around in my living room. It got out of its box. I didn't just let it go in the living room. But, you know, all these kind of hands-on sort of things. But a lot of times, and it's becoming more now, that school nutrition programs are the push behind gardens. And not because they're supplementing, not that they're growing enough to supplement the cafeteria, but to show the kids
Yeah, that's.
that tomato that you're eating, this is where it
Our
came from.
family just taking the whole classroom, we got the lights and the growing and March, the whole elementary school to there not weekly, but very regularly. And it's just, well, they just show it off all the time, and it's great.
And this is where I'm gonna sound bad. A lot of times, and like I said, I visit a lot of schools, and I meet a lot of parents, and I meet a lot of teachers, and the school gardens are great and wonderful, but y'all all know you're never gonna grow in a raised bed enough. Now jalapenos, I think they've got the corner on.
It's a great teaching.
It's a great.
And I'm trying, my opinion is appropriations, and I'm trying to figure out how you get more of it, and consistently and long-term funded and get it taught and get it sustained.
And then you have systems
That's what's
like
going through my mind right now.
Tift that has a farm. Madison County, they have their FFA has 5 acres.
All right.
I cannot remember who sells the grits at Expo over the Family Life. No, it's the Fitzgerald, Irwinton, and they do cornmeal and flour, but their FFA kids grow it, produce it, you know, sell it. And it is amazing at just that buy-in when the kids, they see it from going in the dirt to, it might not be that tomato on their plate, but they know that tomato came from.
The guy that does our grits come to the primary school just a few weeks ago, and we took every kid, we have kindergarten and first in that school, we took every kid outside, and he turned the mill on, he took the corn, and he made it to grits, and then to cornmeal, and then the husk is for his feed, and so kids go, oh my gosh, I didn't know grits came from corn, and you go, yeah, and so we were talking, and I said, so if I run out of cornmeal, and I'm making cornbread, I can just add a few of my grits in to make up the difference, and he goes, well, I never thought about that, but you know how many teachers in that school go, I didn't realize that's how I didn't know you just ground corn to make cornmeal. I didn't know you just ground corn to make grits and you grind it a little, you know, finer to make cornmeal. I mean, it was amazing all of a sudden what happened, and that's of course where we buy our own moments.
We all have those.
When we did my first Feed My School in Madison County, we were the first ones that did an ag day. And every day, I had a huge map, and we put colored dots according to the day of what county in Georgia that product came from. Well, on the last day, we had Brush Creek Farms, which is literally like half a mile down the street from Colbert Elementary School. And we had Brush Creek Farms Sloppy Joes. Well, I had at my ag day, we had Brush Creek Farms with a live cow. And I kept waiting for some little 5th grader to go.
Yeah.
And kind of put it together, you know, and it's just, but it was amazing, that and the All Shucks Day. Have y'all done All Shucks where the kids actually husk corn? I went to the very first one that one of the school systems had. They got curriculum from Iowa. And there was this little kid, and he said, what is this wrapper? And he had no idea what was in the corn. And I mean, he was little. He was, I think he was 5. He was like, I don't know what that is. And when I peeled it back, and he went, oh. I mean, you could just see it.
Which is why we do what we do.
Exactly.
It's exactly why we do what we do.
And we've had some conversations with grocers when we've done retail projects in Southwest Atlanta. They see an uptick after a taste test.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I say that all the time. He's like, if you serve roasted turnips one more time. I mean, it's like, I can't, please let me know a week before you serve them or you taste test them, because I can't keep, because, you know, we don't sell turnips. Nobody sells turnips like that.
And it's deal, like, is it a deal like an IGA?
No, it's an Ingalls.
Okay.
The manager's pretty, you know, he's local, but he's like, if you, I know, he's like, please tell me before you roast some turnips.
with Farm to School and Georgia Grown and all of this trying to come together, a couple of things I wrote down is how we get it as part of the CCRPI and that process with the state or DOE. I'm not sure where they are as far as the finality of it, but we all know that school nutrition impacts learning. And it also impacts us. If it impacts the schedule of school, it impacts. I mean, and we know that lunch impacts the whole, you build your schedule a lot of times around lunch in many schools. So one thing is how can that be part of the CCRPI score, or can it add quality points to it? You know, and then I'm also looking at the financial efficiency and the star rating that Georgia came out with for school systems. And basically they per pupil expenditure, and they kick out everything that doesn't directly impact the school. The teaching and learning. And they take transportation out, they take school nutrition, they take the power bill, they take all those things out and then grade you and throw it into an algorithm and grade you on your financial efficiency. And I'll be honest with you, school nutrition is the epitome of financial efficiency, in my opinion, in the state of Georgia, because they're the second largest budget in Lowndes County, but yet again, they can take those dollars and stretch them farther than I believe anybody can. A lot more than maybe our curriculum. So I see that. No, and I'm appreciative of it because, you know, you have to build your reserves, and then on top of that, you have to go through all the procurement and all of those bids, and then I sit down with our school nutrition director and our assistant director and go through all of the stuff, and I've gotten an education in 3 years in this position that I'm in. So is there a way that financial efficiency, there's some kind of rubric that we can come up with that school nutrition can do, not on top of it, but some stuff you're already doing to throw into the algorithm and say, here's the score, not trying to grade a program or a county, but actually go in there and give them quality points. How is school nutrition helping us with teaching and learning? How are they helping us with the financial side? How are they helping us with getting Georgia Grown in? So all of that. And then third, a lot of you are talking about STEM, and that's near and dear to my heart because 5 years ago, Pine Grove Middle, the school that they asked me to be in charge of, that's what we started, and it culminated this past year of us being a STEM certified one of 9 middle schools in the state. And you've got these red dots in Atlanta, and you've got a little dot down here in Lowndes County, and that's Pine Grove Middle. But it all started with food. Miss Carter and I were out there picking strawberries in our hoop house 5 years ago when we were doing hydroponics, and that was something that most people did not know much about. So can school nutrition, a lot of times around your grown, your animals and your plants, a lot of, probably 2/3 of the schools have something to do with STEM, and it has to do with food. So can that be quality points? So I think if you can kind of wrap this in, and how can DOE, Ag, everybody work together to come up with some sort of rubric, not to grade you, because I can give you a grade on school nutrition. That's a 2 thumbs up when it comes to the financial part, or getting on kids fed as an administrator or as a teacher. But how can we take that and make school nutrition part of these things, those 3 things that just popped in my mind as we were talking, like CCRPI, financial efficiency star rating, the STEM initiatives. And we have the power in Georgia and the legislature, the DOE, to do something about it, to come up with that. Public health, I mean, you know, the shape, I saw those grants come across my email a lot of times, like I don't have time, but our school nutrition folks and our lunchroom managers were looking at that, coming to me and saying, hey, I heard about this. Is this something we can try? You know, so I think good leadership, and then also a plan. And it sounds like we just need to kind of get everything on one checklist, not a 15-page application. God, I know, the grant we received, yeah. By the time I got through with that, it was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So anyhow, those are just some things that I think that can really impact. It does impact the school, but it can impact Georgia Grown, it can impact business, agribusiness, it can impact the financials, and then also, of course, your taste and quality of food and kids. And that's what we're here for, the kids. So all this, we don't lose sight of that.
That would be wonderful. It would give value, and that's something, I won't tell you how many years in school nutrition and dietetics I have been, and it's trying to prove the preventive nutrition and the impact, and that's why I'm in school nutrition from 1978. I was the only one in my internship that wanted to do school nutrition. It was all clinical, but I saw the need to do preventive nutrition to prevent the health of our nation where it is now. And we can prevent it, and school nutrition is the place to do it, but the value would be given to nutrition without adding more. I'm around a lot of directors, and I just don't want to add more to their plate, because they're doing a great job. And so that, I think that would be very impressive.
That's value added.
Yes, yes.
If you want it to be part of your rubric to be scored on, but does it provide value? Of course it does.
Yeah.
And we've done, I don't know if it's helpful or not, but we've done technical assistance grant writing sessions for different groups. And we can always schedule that with the nutrition directors or whatever subset of people you want us to do. And they actually do some of the applications in real time. So when they attend the session, they actually leave with a concrete framework to submit, and it's a little bit easier.
Already have the network with Reese's to come in and do that small group throughout the system. I mean, everything's in place except for
Just doing it.
this, not the checklist, but this. So,
And if, and I always go, when I do those conversations, I go, having been an educator, I try to make it of value to my teachers, and that's how I get them to do this. And so I started with the STEM conversation, but if it was actually a part of the curriculum, what do they call it now, your objectives and goals, I'm afraid to say.
standards.
The standards were, anyway, if there was a component there that was directly related to what we're already doing, to me, that gives it also more value, and it will be there in all the systems. And it doesn't fall all on school nutrition, it falls with the educators. And we marry the two, and that's what needs to happen. We all need to work together. But,
I'm married to the school nutrition folks I work with. Simply, I did marry the home ec teacher, but I also, literally, but also the lunchroom, you don't find me far from it, as you can tell. So, anyhow.
One thing that really bothers me as a vendor, and we go down every year to I forget what the name of the thing, where we go down to go down to the Capitol and talk to the legislators.
Yes, ma'am, legislature.
They always are amazed the fact that these ladies are self-supporting.
yes.
There's a stigma out there that makes you think because they're part of the school system that they're being funded by the school system. I happen
We
to
operate
be,
5 restaurants, and I pay rent to the school system for me to allow my restaurant to operate in your building.
I don't think that's
Yeah,
the way.
I mean, we've talked about that.
That's the way it was done.
We've talked about that.
Cheryl Jones was with me, and we went up and walked in to see Lee Hawkins. And Lee, I've known Lee for years, but he was questioning her about it. She said out of $30 million, they got like, I don't know, $3 million worth of state reimbursement or whatever they get, for the rest of it have to raise. And I don't think that's really something that people understand.
Oh, no.
That's something they don't have a clue of, especially when they start trying to write guidelines and legislation to tie their hands to make them conform to something that they're not really paying for. And then they get into a situation, this last year, oh my gosh, with all of the insurance and stuff, the poor people have to, $1,000 a month is one of my systems has $1,000 a month for every employee.
It is January 1, 946 a month, $11,300 per employee.
And then we try to color outside, help them color outside.
Can we repeat that?
Very loud, very.
We try to help them color outside the lines and do some more fundraising to get a revenue stream coming in to help offset some of the costs. And they say, well, yeah, they can't work with, because of revenue sharing, they can't do this with this club, or they can't do that with that club, or if they do a catering event, they have to have off hours, and they have to do, I mean, you can only tie, somebody's gonna drown if you tie their hands enough to put them in the middle of the lake. So somewhere or another, that needs to come to the surface.
There are people out there who are drowning. And the support just.
If we can get waivers through Department of Ed out of DC and take our ESSA and go through and say, here's Georgia's plan, here's how we're going to address the academics and this, that, and the other. Is there some way, I was supposed to talk to Nancy, is there some way that there can be some sort of negotiation with Department of Ag or USDA to say, hey, we'd like to modify our plan, here's how we're going to do it, here's how the safeguards so there's not hanky-spanky going on with the money or there's my uncle who has this farm, or it unties hands in the school nutrition part, but it unties in the business section, which helps with the governmental. Is there some way that we could come up with a plan to do that? A waiver? I mean, I know it's a monolith in Washington, but they let us do that in education. Why can't we try it?
And y'all correct me because I know I'm going to say it wrong. I cannot remember the name of the bill. The child nutrition reauthorization has not passed yet. And in that, part of the language was changed from that, and again, I'm completely paraphrasing, that school nutrition is housed in the Department of Education in a school, in a state. And now it's just changed to in a state agency. Completely paraphrasing. And there are some states that have looked at that to cut some of the red tape or to cut some of the hoops, that they're looking at ways to work more closely with departments of agriculture. Florida, Texas, did not pass through the South Carolina legislature. New Jersey was actually the first state that made that kind of a move. But that's what some are looking at, is if it were to make a move or were to be more integrated, how can they cut some of this red tape and, you know, be more supportive of farmers and school nutrition and kind of everything all at the same time. Is that kind of what you're asking?
Well, that and also, I mean, it sounds like it's just, and like I said, these bids, good God, the bids. From, you know, plastic gloves to, you know, it's got to be bid out. The procurement side of it, though, as far as the going out and being able to purchase side of it, school nutrition can run the program, it's just the buying of the stuff.
Some states have state bids. We were looking at, it started 2 years ago in Georgia, looking to do a state produce bid. And this was with Dr. Fitzgerald at DPH, and we were in, I'm sorry, we were just in and talking about how to do a statewide produce bid. And not just, okay, we're going to have a state bid on peaches, we're going to have a state bid on apples, and a state bid on bananas. We were looking at an all-encompassing produce bid. And DOAS would have written the bid, and all we had to prove to them was that there would be at least $1 million worth of business in a year. Their school systems, we could do $1 million in a month, you know, if not more so. But it came to the point, because they were worried that school systems didn't have the access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And when we came back to say, you know, through our DOD and through all our procurement and whatnot, so that kind of fell by the wayside, just because at that time it wasn't needed. But maybe more state bids, more, I'm not really sure where to even start with that.
And Misty, no matter where the program lies, whether it's in education or ag, we have the Code of Federal Regulations that we have to follow.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we, as a state department, superintendent, board, we're not allowed to require anything extra than what is already rooted in law, because we have a local control state. And we want the school systems to be the authority about what they do. So we don't mandate anything extra. We just have to follow the law, which is the Code of Federal Regulations. So, and if there's someone out there that's doing something that we shouldn't be doing, a consultant, I need to know about it.
Federal regs have to be followed,
No matter where.
Right. Whichever program it is.
Do a waiver as far as wherever it lies, but can we do something innovative? And that's the catchword in education, catchword everywhere. But innovative in Georgia to say, we would like to try this for a period of time. Could that be written?
Might be a conversation to have with the USDA Secretary, Senator.
Yes.
I mean, honestly.
Well, and that's why I'm saying we've got to.
Say,
All right,
you know,
this is your chance.
We-
Do y'all want to bring it back in here and have a working lunch or sit on the stage?
Well, we have a meeting next week, don't we? Isn't it next week?
Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
Thursday.
We gotta beat the high schoolers. They're coming in.
Yeah, they're coming in 4 minutes and that's,
And if we don't.
they're all big.
Can we take all our stuff, Georgia Grown today?
Thank you, Georgia Brown.
We do,
We're coming back here.
do y'all want to leave it there? I doubt it's, you want to eat in here or don't eat in there?
What do you recommend?
I don't know y'all eating in there. All right. I'm gonna get y'all in there a good line and I'm gonna come back and lock this door and then we'll leave.
Are we coming back?
Yeah, we'll come back. Everybody out there in the bathroom? I'll go back and lock it.
Have a safe trip. Thank you, it's good to see you, y'all. Ms. Dickey, nice to meet you.
Right.
Y'all make it.
I'd love to talk to you more. You've got a great idea.
Well, I mean,
I
Have a good one.
All right, thank you. See you later, Emily.
Thanks, Alita, it's good to see you.
Same to you. You come and eat?
No, I'm actually going to hit the road to be able to get back to another city.
I heard you
this
had another
afternoon, so
today.
thank you,
Thank
though.
you.
Thank you.